I'm going to be recording the fourth video today for information purposes on really uncovering some of the things that can happen with Botox. And today will be more of a personal health update with where I am at. And it has almost been 3 years since my last injection. So it's been quite a long road to recovery, and I'm still learning and uncovering different things that are going on with my body as a result of that situation that happened with Botox spreading from the injection site. So I want to first give a little more context to why Botox negatively affects us, what specifically is happening, and then I will also share some personal, again, information of some of the breakthroughs that I've had just in the past week, the past month. So hopefully this will help someone maybe going through this to feel not alone, or help to inform someone who's just curious about potential side effects or if Botox can really hurt you, because I know that many people are still in disbelief that it can even have such negative after and lasting effects. So I feel, as I've said in the previous 3 videos, I believe, I've given some details, and I've talked about, the struggle. And I do feel, and my intention here is that although this has been a struggle for me, our greatest struggle can really be our greatest strength and purpose, and we can help other people with it. So I'm just humbly sharing with you my, experience here, and hopefully, again, it will help someone else. So I'm going to rewind a little bit and talk about, and you can go back to the first, I think it was actually the last video where I talked more specifics on what happens actually when you are injected, how the dosages work, and things like that. But today, when we're talking about iatrogenic botulism poisoning, which is the therapeutic, or the technical term for what happens when the Botox spreads from the injection site, there's a few things that I do want to share because I did not know this. Now, again, I take full responsibility for not doing my own due diligence and my own research to this degree to understand that. And I remember that I was told a few key things like don't exercise. I think that the waiver I signed, again, had some information like that on it. So whether this is, again, I take full responsibility for, not doing my own research and understanding, but what happens a lot of times with that iatrogenic botulism spread, or poisoning from spread at the injection site, is a couple things can cause that. So what causes that, and how do you potentially avoid putting yourself in a bad situation? So the first thing is you want to definitely avoid getting massage, especially around your face or wherever you were injected, or chiropractic adjustments as well. And exercise, like I said, vigorous exercise. And again, I don't know exactly the time frame to avoid that, but I know that at least when the injection is fresh. Of course, as per usual, I have a cat climbing all over me and my computer. So we'll see if I can keep my notes and all my things together. If it comes crashing down, you know what has happened. So most likely. Okay, so what happens if it spreads beyond the injection site is that it actually is absorbed into your bloodstream, which can happen more easily than we are told. And this triggers a massive immune response in your body. Now, you can imagine that if you were actually exposed to botulism from, like a canning incident or something, or, in some sort of bioterror attack, your body would have a very strong reaction to being poisoned. So there are a very long list of symptoms that you can experience. And I went into that in the previous video, but what happens when you're poisoned is, or when you are seeing that the botulism has spread from the injection site, it is actually in blocking acetylcholine from being released in your body. So acetylcholine actually, like, why is that a problem? It creates a cascade of effects that affects every neurotransmitter, every neuron, and every muscle relies on that function. So you definitely create potentially a cascade of a breakdown, like a short circuiting in that that chemical response that acetylcholine is responsible for in our body. So yeah, so this is problematic. It does create, again, a breakdown of many different symptoms, and you can, have a variety of different things that you could be experiencing or could not realize is a result of Botox, because it doesn't necessarily affect you the day you get it. Back when I told my story in video 1, it was the following month, actually, that I had the really intense, for me, panic attacks and neurological issues, and all kinds of very scary things happen. So again, there are some things that you can do to try to neutralize the poison, but I'm not going to get into that too much. And I really refer you, and I'm so grateful to both the Instagram account Never Talks, as well as they have a partner Facebook page, that if you are curious, if you are being affected by Botox, I can refer you to, and they have a vast amount of information. In fact, they've taught me so much that I'm sharing with you here. So I really want to give them all the credit for really inspiring me to research this and to share it. So if you want to know, more specifics on how to neutralize the toxin, I can point you in their direction, because it is very tricky, and it's something that you really have to know a little bit about to try to help yourself through. So yeah, so immediately I talked about my symptoms and what happened, like, the most intensely, and that went on again for quite some time. It's foggy, trying to remember exact timelines, but ultimately, I have never felt the same since. And I know that is like such a bummer. And, I don't, again, want to be a downer, but I literally have never felt the same in my body since. And because of the cascade of different things that can happen, some of the things that I have lasting issues with are adrenal fatigue. I have issues with cortisol management. I've, again, taken a lot of tests and know exactly what that snapshot looks like for me personally. The other thing too, serotonin has been affected for me. I already had low level anxiety and depression, so that definitely caused making that a negative effect on that for me. The other thing that I've just and I'm going to say chronic fatigue, because if you're someone if you've dealt with autoimmune issues, if you deal with fatigue, that analogy. It's called like being a spoonie. And, I don't particularly want to identify with the ailments that I'm experiencing, so I don't want to get into too many labels around it, but that analogy it really describes what I deal with, where the spoonie analogy, if you're not familiar, is a term for people who are autoimmune, or they deal with autoimmune issues. It could deal with chronic issues that aren't necessarily like outwardly seen. Like, it's not like you look at me and think, oh, she's definitely struggling or sick. And it also refers to how much energy you have throughout the day. So like, most people wake up and they have theoretically like unlimited spoons. Like, they can do all the things that they need to do. They can take care of their family, their job, their, passions and their hobbies, and they're good. Like, they go to bed, they feel good. So when you have, when you're, dealing with autoimmune or also chronic fatigue, it's also known as like you have just a certain amount of spoons to work with each day. And even things like getting ready can take a spoon. Getting your hair done can take a couple spoons. Providing, meals and cooking and things like that, dishes, all the things that you do take spoons away and can leave you literally like empty in your energy tank, without seemingly a normal amount of effort. So that's been the biggest thing for me. There's also is the chronic fatigue symptoms and just not knowing how my energy is going to respond. The other thing that I think I was getting ready to say is that just this past week, I have really understood the component of mast cell activation syndrome. So that is a topic that I probably will save for a future video, but mast cell issues are, in short, mast cells are all throughout our immune system in our body. They're white blood cells, and they're basically when you have like a significant issue with an immune response, they can get overactivated, and it can happen from too much histamine in the body. So you start to become super sensitive. People are known with mast cell as being the canaries in the coal mine. So you can be sensitive to things like being in the car, travel, different specific foods, as I mentioned, that you may think are health foods are really high in histamines and can cause you to have a histamine attack. You can have, there's other symptoms because mast cell also affects, they're found in all the, I think almost all of the organ systems in the body. So they can affect you differently, and it can be confusing. So that I'm really just starting to understand how the mast cell piece falls into place. But I want to share, and I can tell you that before I move on, that this past week, I have significantly lowered my histamines in my diet. I've made changes that, are trying to address the adrenals with caffeine. Again, just anything can be super sensitive for me. So before we conclude for this video, I want to talk about the connection to the thyroid, because this is a very interesting and definitely not talked about connection that I found through a video on YouTube from Dr. Brad Shook. And this is a connection to Hashimoto's and thyroid and Botox. So I'm going to break this down for you, but obviously I'm not a scientist or a doctor, and I encourage you to do your own research in anything that I've discussed here, especially, when you're talking about, recommendations and things like that. But this video was particularly interesting to me because, well, let me tell you what it was first. So he was informed by an immunologist, a very intelligent immunologist that's written several research papers that can be found on PubMed. His name was Aristo Vojdani is the immunologist. So he talks about, obviously we know Botox is a neurotoxin, but it talks about how the injections of Botox may cause thyroid complications. But what's more is it's undetected. So what I mean by that is that when the Botox is injected, and it's going to have an absorption in the body, regardless if it gives you toxin spread and poisoning and things like that. And this is the bottom line: the molecular structure of Botox is similar to the thyroid cells. Okay, so the molecular structure, it's called molecular mimicry, I believe, is going to mirror the and similar to the thyroid cells. So this causes an immune response that triggers a mistaken identity of the thyroid being attacked as an immune threat. Okay, so basically the body is attacking both the botulism in the body and also the thyroid. Now, because of the molecular mimicry, you can take a test to try to determine if your thyroid is dysfunctional or just regulating, but it won't show up. So definitely, if you have any sort of Hashimoto's or issues with your thyroid and you're taking Botox, it's something to be informed of and aware of. So just in conclusion, some of the lasting effects of this for me are uncomfortable and unpredictable, I think is the hardest thing, because I have a fire in me that wants to go and do and, be proactive. But again, there are certain symptoms that I'm still experiencing, and I'm not clear as to what is triggering them. I'm getting closer though. So that would be low-level anxiety, overstimulated nervous system, big ones with mast cell, because mast cell, from my understanding, mast cell is a part of the immune system response, but my understanding is the immune system and the the nervous system are intrinsically connected. So if you have an immune issue, you're going to have a nervous system issue likely too. Fatigue. Episodes that I'm going to describe as panic episodes, although I'm still not 100% sure what the heck is happening. Okay. Definitely sensitive to exercise, travel, overstimulation, noise, chemicals, low blood pressure, dizzy spells, motion sickness. My autonomic nervous system has an issue with temperature regulation at times, where I will get chilled, I will get hot, it will be a mess, kind of back and forth. Body aches and pains, which I think is a lot of the mast cell issue and the inflammation in the body, which I'm getting to the bottom of, thankfully, although it's been a little bit of a rocky road, in particular this past week. And I think, that's a short list, right? Like, that's enough. So I just want to say that if you are going through any sort of healing cycle, I don't know, anything autoimmune, anything at all, it's just like peeling back an onion, and it's so not linear. It's just not. It's not where you can, gosh, if I thought I was going to chart the course of what I was going to do to heal myself, it would have been just so much faster. And cleaner. It takes mental effort, and brain fog is a big one too, that comes and goes, and it takes such diligence. So I just really acknowledge you if you're going through any kind of healing challenge, just to stay with it. I'm so grateful that I have the ability and the resources to seek out and literally go down every rabbit hole. I've tried so many healing modalities, you guys, like so many. I could write a book on just that. Quantum healing, past life healing, physical body healing, emotional issue healing, all the different layers that affect us as a whole being. So when you have a fragile body, you just need to go slow, and you need to extend so much grace to yourself, and just know that you cannot measure up against other people, or even your previous best, right? It's just like a day by day thing, and it's unfolding. And I just wanted to share, that this week, like I said, I had a bit of a breakdown. I had taken some supplements this past week, and it led to a breakthrough, because I was like, oh, right. I can't take supplements the same way someone who is not sensitive can. I have to be very slow and intentional and aware. And if there's any stress, it's going to exacerbate the potential for a trigger. So I feel you if you're going through any of that. And I appreciate you listening today. Let me know if I can answer any questions at all. Like I said, I have had I've had a lot of time to do a lot of research, and I feel like I'm actually getting somewhere that I can have some things that I can offer to you. So be well. Thank you.